Hi, everybody. This is Mia from Travelpreneur Tribe. I help entrepreneurs build and scale their businesses while traveling the world. And today I have with me Belinda Giambattista, if I have pronounced it correctly, probably not. And she is an entrepreneur, a speaker, and a coach. And she is a founder of multiple companies. The latest one is Choose Your Metrics, and she helps businesses with the trainings and starting and growing their company. So today I'm going to be talking about how you can create an early vision of your idea that sparks that emotion in front of your customer, where you can launch a product that your customer is going to buy. So welcome, Belinda.
Thank you.
So tell us a little about yourself. Like, how did you get started? How did you start your company? And, tell your viewers a little about yourself.
Sure. So I started my career after college back in 1996. I worked for an entrepreneur at that time and learned a little bit about what it was like to work for a smaller organization. And then right away, I actually went to work for a large regional bank in North Carolina. And I spent about the next 12 years working in corporate America, most recently having worked at Moody's Investor Service. And at that point, I had decided, you know what, I really am ready to kind of branch out and do something on my own. So I took everything I'd learned in my undergraduate business classes from Carolina, from my MBA at NYU, and all of the corporate experience that I had, and I launched a company called Butterbeans about 10 years ago. And that company was a food service management company that I actually sold about 18 months ago, and have transitioned to a business coaching, business education business. So Choose Your Metric is a one-on-one coaching business where I help business owners take their skills to the next level and achieve their goals. I'm also producing online courses and also have a subscription service that I'm about to launch that's going to give people a real good access to their peers, accountability partners, live classes, and other goodies too as well. So, but taking all that experience that I learned from Butterbeans, from my corporate experience, from my graduate school, and putting that all together, that's kind of how I got started.
All right, nice. So you said like you started the Choose Your Metrics maybe like 2 years ago now. So what kind of clients do you usually work with?
So my clients are everywhere from, brand new startup, I want to start a business, I have this idea, to people that have fully blown up businesses up to, I would say, $5-6 million in revenue, that have, anywhere from, solopreneurs up to 30 employees. So the different sizes and the industries, that's a big range, but the truth is that a lot of the issues that they face are very common. They face issues around sales. They face issues around workforce development, all kinds of things, process, operations, efficiencies, productivity. So all of these things that they face are very similar, even though their industries and their sizes are somewhat different.
Yeah. Sounds like you have a lot going on.
Yes, a very full plate right now.
Good. Keeping busy, that's a good sign. So one of the things that we're going to be talking about today is how do you have your customers beg you for their money? So, so what does that really mean? Like, can you tell us a little more?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So customers buy from anyone, from you or anyone else that they're going to buy from, for two reasons. One, they have a really excruciating pain that they really want to get rid of. Or two, they have some super deep desire, something that they really, really want, and they just can't wait to get it. I'll give you an example. My son wants a new iPhone, and he wants a specific one. And so instead of just taking the cheapest one that I'm willing to pay for, cannot wait to give me that extra $300 out of his own pocket to get the one he actually wants to supplement the price. So that's an example of a desire, something that somebody truly wants, and they cannot wait to give you their money to get what they want in exchange. The Butterbeans example was a company where we sold school lunch. And there are some parents out there who hate packing lunches. So when they learned about our service, and they knew they could pay us and give us their money to never have to worry about packing a lunch again, a lot of our customers could not wait to give us their money to get rid of that very critical pain that they really hated to deal with every day.
Yeah. So how do you get there? I mean, I'm pretty sure like every business owner's like dream is to have their customers running after them. Like, no, here it is. Here's $100. Here's $1,000. How do you
Absolutely.
get there?
So whenever I'm working with my clients and my students to help them understand how to get to that point, I try to help them go through a process. And the process really starts with understanding what your mission is. And that mission is something that's usually pretty special, something unique to your company that's going to be the big idea that you're coming to them with, the thing that's going to hook their attention. And as soon as you have that kind of understood, then you put that down on paper, and then you think about, all right, who is my actual customer? And if you Google ideal customer attributes or ideal customer avatar, my customer avatar, you're going to find lots of templates to help you really think and study and investigate who your customer is. So if we think about the Butterbeans customer, they were someone who, you know, made enough money to be able to buy a daily school lunch for their kids. It cost about $8 a day. They were someone who valued education. It was usually a female. It was usually someone who had a very busy life, that worked and had children and wanted to travel. So these are attributes of that customer. And so for your particular situation, you want to know exactly who that customer is, knowing that you cannot sell to everyone, that you have to get very, very specific. How old is this person? What magazines do they read? Where do they get their information? What really resonates with them, so that you can know how to talk to them in a way that they're going to really hear what you have to say. And then as soon as you have those two pieces of information down, you have the hook and you have who they are, then I say, take that customer through a journey. What is their day-to-day like? So are they starting out their journey like angry in the morning, looking in the fridge, thinking, what and am I going to pack for lunch today? We have no food. Or are they walking down the street and they see this shiny Corvette and they're like, man, I can't wait to make enough money to buy that. Where does their journey start? Is it where is their attention at the beginning of this place that they're going? And then how do they go through these different processes to find you and be given this amazing experience where they realize that there can be a solution to their problem, or they realize that this beautiful shiny object that their desire exists? Then you need to be able to say, all right, here's my big idea. I've got the hook. Now, putting together who they are, what their attributes are, with what their true pain is, put those two things together, and then use that language to talk to your customer. Talk to them in such a way that they're going to want to invite you to tell them more about what it is you're selling. And then as you get going, as people buy your product, your reputation is going to start to develop. People are going to start to come to you through referrals, and you're going to be off to the races. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It makes sense. Let me just take a step back and ask you, like, how do you get that information, right? So, like, do you talk to the customers personally? Do you reach to them via the email? Like, how do you get that information, what their pain points are and what they basically need?
That's a great question. So go straight to get the information from the horse's mouth. I always advise my clients to go do interviews, and depending on what their product is, if they know exactly what it is, they know what their big idea is, and they can create any kind of prototype, whether it's a sample, whether it's something that they've written down on a piece of paper and they've drawn a picture. Doesn't have to be complicated, but it does need to be a conversation starter, is the way I think about it. And so I then say to them, find people that you believe to be in your target market and invite them for coffee, for lunch, to a party, whatever, and then start to talk to people about it and say, listen, I have this idea. I really want to start this company. And here's the thing that I'm thinking about offering, whether it's a product or a service. And say, the reason that I'm asking you for coffee is because I really want to know your opinion about it. I value your opinion because you did this other thing. And it seems like you were interested in this topic. Or I know you bought one of these from somebody else last year and you have experience with this widget. And I'd love to know what that was like. Did it work? Did it not work? And once they understand that you're just asking them for their advice and they're not actually trying to sell them anything, people are generally excited to give you their information, to give you their opinion. And you can say, what about this problem is so big that makes it really important for you to solve? What about this problem is urgent for you, or is it not so urgent? What solution are you using right now as a workaround because you don't have the perfect solution? And how is that working for you? How is that not working for you? At the end of the conversation, what you're really trying to get at is how badly do they want to solve this problem? Because if they walk away saying, you know what, honestly, I really don't care if I solve it or not, it's just kind of mildly annoying, that's not something that people are going to beat down the doors to give you money for. But if they walk away and they say, you know what, I would give anything for this problem to go away tomorrow. I'm going to be deeply disappointed if I cannot find a solution in the next couple of months. That is something to hang on to, iterate on, and figure out what you can do to make it as good as it can be to make somebody buy it. And depending on how far that conversation goes, you need to use your judgment as to what you would ultimately ask the person. But if they really demonstrate a lot of interest, say, if I can solve that problem for you in this way, that way, and this way, just based on what you've told me, how much would you pay me to solve that problem? And really get to the heart of what it is they're willing to do in order to solve it. After you have about 5 to 10 of these conversations and you start to see trends, then you're ready to create a bigger prototype, something that you're ready to sell a few samples of.
Yeah. So one of the things that you actually said is, that you could iterate on it, right? So if maybe you can just touch up on that. So like, let's say you have, you talk to your customers, right? And you heard back from them, oh, we want A, B, C, and D, right? So you go, you build it, you create whatever you find it's minimally that you need, whether it's like a landing page or whatever. And then you give them what they want. But then again, you have to iterate on it, right? Because the only way that your business is going to grow is if you continue getting that feedback from the customer, right? So
right.
How do you do that? How do you iterate that process? How do you get continuous feedback and implementation loop back and forth?
So it's a very good question as well, because this is something that people don't do often enough. You have to ask for feedback. So whenever you are, and I see this with my clients all the time, especially when they're creating something new, and they think to themselves, oh, I'm going to give it away for free this time. I'm going to figure out how to make this amazing through giving this away for free. I'm going to go through the experience and then I'm going to figure it out. And they never once say to the client, I'm giving this to you for free in exchange for telling me every 5 minutes what I could be doing better. And that is a very critical piece of the process of going through the iterations of what works, what doesn't work, what I need to change, what I need to adjust. And this is true for products and services, by the way. But you need to be very clear with the person that you are dealing with, that you are giving the discount to. The other thing is, whenever you give somebody something away for free, you don't just say price $0. If your thing would normally be priced at $1,000, you put $1,000 right on the invoice, and then you say discount $1,000, just so they can see the value, so that you're putting this out there as part of the information. And then make sure that through surveys, through conversations, through questioning that you ask, don't just expect your customer that's giving you the feedback to just know how to give feedback. You also have to have planned questions to say, listen, I'm going to ask you at the end of every one of our meetings about 10 questions, and I need you to give me your honest answers so that I can improve my business. Set the expectation right up front so that the customer knows their role and this prototyping pilot tests process that they are going through with you in order to get this amazing value that you're giving to them at a free or discounted price.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I mean, it sounds very simple, right? When you have a concept and to do it, but I can see, once when you start talking to your customers, right? And you can be talking to like 20 different customers and you can get 20 different things back, right?
That's right.
How do you find?
But you will see trends. Even though you do get 20 different things back, you are going to start to see some trends, and that will help you figure out a direction.
Yeah. And then I would think, once when you do find that trend, right? So then you're kind of like one step closer into like that little box, that you can kind of dedicate yourself. But then from little, silo box, like once when you develop your business, you go and you develop further into it and maybe even make like a smaller box that goes more targeted inside of that as well. So,
right.
So what do you find that the business owners or people that are starting their companies are struggling the most when it comes to this process, right? So like, let's say they have the knowledge and they go out and do it, like they mostly challenged with?
Their confidence. That's the number one thing that I would say that people struggle with at the very beginning, because they feel like, why would people choose me to sell this to them, to create this amazing thing for them versus somebody else who's done this for 10 years or whatever the case may be. And they sometimes discount the unique approach or the unique skill set or the unique thing that they bring to the table that does make what they're doing valuable and the choice that's right for their customers versus the alternatives. I do think that plays a part. But once they put themselves out there into the situation and they get a positive response, it is very good for their confidence. It does really boost their confidence and helps them. A lot of people have a very hard time with knowing their value. Putting a price on their service that is really what they're worth, and figuring out how to get to those customers that are willing to pay for their value and know their value. That is something that I also see that's difficult. Another thing that I really see is written communication. I see a lot of that struggling with people early in startups because they haven't had the experience and they haven't really had the training on how to effectively communicate through email. And so what happens is, they'll start to engage with a prospect and they will write something that's maybe very short, or they just think that it's going to be this easy back and forth when it's really more complicated than that. And they need to be more organized. They need to be figuring out how to be a resource to this person as opposed to just this back and forth conversation. So I do find that the written communication and the engagement skills need to be really honed for people who are just starting up.
How do you do that? Because like if I look at it like from my perspective, right? I mean, I'm a techie. Like, writing skills is definitely not my thing. I can give you all of the facts and the dates and what's happening, when it's happening. But to make that sound very exciting and appealing, like I would need to like sit the entire afternoon to work on it. So what tips and tricks around that?
So, well, I can tell you for my one-on-one clients, what I typically do is I ask them to send me what they're going to send to their client before they send it and let me read it and let me help them. And then I can give them some pointers, some revising, and format their emails in such a way that they're easier to read, that the information is maybe in more bullet points or numbered as opposed to paragraph form, but that it also includes very clear sections on when we're going to follow up next and what that follow-up is going to look like. And also have a section on, oh, I went to your website and I read the press about you and I noticed that you just did this project and you got this amazing award. I just want to say congratulations. You guys really deserve it. I love what you do. And show that you actually care about these people, that you took the time to get to know them. So with my one-on-one clients, it really is a hands-on training. I will be doing some workshopping like that on my subscription service, and as well as on some of my video classes. I'll have some workshopping coming up like that, but it really is coming down to trial and error, where you have to practice it. You have to come up with a template that works really well for you, and then take the pieces of that template that are necessary depending on what the communication is about, and make sure you include these different pieces.
Yeah, because one of the things that I see, like a lot of people are, they created templates and they just blast email them, right, without having that personalized touch. And, like you can so tell that a person hasn't really taken a time, right, to dedicate, if it's like just 5 minutes to you personally. And I feel that adds a lot of value versus, how can I say it, like a regular email blast to everybody.
Exactly, 100%. I mean, and this is a perfect example of how people need to think about their written communication when they're doing it, if they actually want people to read it and to open it and to feel like you're talking to them. So it is something that you absolutely need to take time for, personalize, to use your word, and make it easy to read and engaging.
Yeah. Okay. What else? Anything else that I haven't asked you around the topic that you want to point out that is really important?
I would just really say that this is a process. This is a journey. This is not something that you just go through at one time over a course of a month and boom, you're hitting your sales goals for the year. This is something that you need to understand. There's going to be ups and downs. Entrepreneurship is not for the weak of heart. It is definitely for someone who is resilient, who is ready to take the punches as well as the glory, to celebrate the small wins and recognize when the small wins happen, as opposed to just glossing over them. Even if you get somebody to respond to you, it's something to celebrate. And just constantly keep learning every single day. Always have an open approach to learning. Never feel like you're, know enough, because we never do. We always have more to learn, and just keep understanding that this is a journey and not a destination.
Yeah. And I think like two things, right? So when you say about the journey, right? So like I do want to ask you, about your journey and some of like the things, that you have struggled, even though like you already have over 10 years of experience, right? And for me personally, I like to hear these stories from like successful entrepreneurs, right? Because it gives you more level, like, oh wait, but I have those problems too. So if she has it, but she already has all of this experience, right? So then it kind of like puts you more into at ease, right? So
yeah.
So tell us, so what were some of the things, that you struggled with, and what did you do to overcome some of those things?
Sure. So I'll tell you a couple. One from my prior company, Butterbeans. It was a food service management company, and I've never worked in food before starting that company, unless you count harvesting vegetables in my parents' farm, which is not at all cooking in a commercial kitchen. So learning what I needed to know in order to effectively hire the right staff, the right chef, understanding the entire, P&L components of that kind of business was very much a challenge. I sought out a lot of mentors. I definitely looked into my network and found anybody who knew anything about food and begged them to teach me so that I could learn, so that I would know what I was doing. And it was a very important process for me to go through to learn not only how to ask for the help, but how to understand the help and how to filter the advice. Because at the end of the day, you are the expert on your business, and you're going to get a lot of information and a lot of feedback from very different people who think they know best. And you have to filter it, and you have to figure out which part of this information and advice is going to be good for my business, and which part should I just leave out the door and say thank you, but this is not for me. So I had to learn all of that the hard way, and it was a very valuable lesson. And I implemented all of the lessons into that company to make it a success. And so now, as I transitioned into my new career of building a school and being an educator, I have to learn a lot about more about marketing to large group of people. Whereas before, my company had 20 clients, and it was a big client list. Now I need a couple thousand. So it's a very different type of marketing. And the writing is also different. Even though I have a lot of experience in writing and doing that, I have to learn how to write in a whole new way in order to communicate through the digital tools that I need to use in order to get people's attention and share the information. Learning about landing pages and learning about learning management systems and new platforms and Google Analytics and all of these things that I never had to learn before. I am now faced with, figuring out how to do crash courses and all of them at the same time while running my coaching business is quite a challenge. So everything goes slower than we would like, but that's just the nature of, again, being an entrepreneur, and just recognizing that as long as we're making progress every day, that we're going in the right direction.
Yeah. And actually that was, tied to my second point from previously, is like, well, what is the reason why mostly people, businesses do not succeed, right? It's because mostly people quit when they was probably like just one step away, but because we didn't have that endurance and the good and the bad and just continue through it and pushing it and iterating, right, and adjusting and finding like that right combination or whatever it is that you need in order to be successful. So
right, and you do have to recognize too when it's time to pivot. So if your company is not accomplishing what you set out for to accomplish, then you do have to analyze and say, why not? And if there is a reason that you realize that says, okay, I need to pivot for this reason, and this is what I'm going to pivot to, that way. And I did that early on in my Butterbeans company. We started out serving lunch boxes, and then we realized lunch boxes weren't going to do it for a variety of reasons, from a logistic perspective, etc. It wasn't going to be a profitable company, so we had to pivot and do it in a different way. So as long as you are working on your business and analyzing it and being aware of what works and not taking those things personally. If it was your idea to do lunch boxes and we have to kill it, it's not because you're stupid or a bad person. It's just because lunch boxes didn't work. So making sure that you know how to do that, and then have the stomach for continuing on with the business and all of the headache and stress that comes with it to get to that other side where it's like pretty good, and then you decide at what point you want to stop growing or continue to grow. But yes, that's right.
Yeah, good. And now I want us to kind of start wrapping up. And I do want to ask you. I mean, you mentioned obviously as an entrepreneur, you're always growing, you're always learning, you're always expanding. So, what are some of the books that have really helped you, or some of the trainings personally, right, on a personal level, or more on a professional, how-tos around marketing or anything of that sort? Anything out there that you would like to recommend?
Yes, I have 4 books that I'm going to recommend today. The first one is Donald Miller's Building a Story Brand. And this is a really great marketing book for anyone, particularly. It doesn't even matter if you're brand new or if you have been doing this for 10, 20 years. Understanding how to talk about your message and how to get everything across. This is a great, simple book that takes you through all of the steps. I highly recommend checking it out. The next one is called The Leadership Gap by Lolly Daskell. And Lolly is an executive coach. She has been coaching for over 30 years. She's a brilliant woman. And what she's done, and her customers her clients tend to be Fortune 100 and 500 CEOs. She's worked with some very prominent people. And what she's done over the years is she's kind of treated the whole thing like a big research project, and she's categorized things, and she's made analysis of things she sees over and over and over again. And then she created this assessment, if you will, that you can take and kind of apply to yourself in this book. There are these 7 archetypes of leadership. And each archetype has a positive and a negative. It's kind of like you got to take the good with the bad. So, you know, if you ever have somebody in your life where you're like, wow, this person is so great, I love them for all of these reasons. And then at the same time, you can say, but they get on my nerves so bad for this other reason. And you might realize it's the exact same trait that's causing them to be lovely and annoying at the same time. And so she breaks down the 7 archetypes of leadership, and how we all, what gets between you and your greatness is the subtitle, to help you understand how you might be letting yourself out there, and how that might play out in your day-to-day.
Question, is there a test that goes with it as well? Because it would be great to read it, but also maybe like do a test, like, okay, what group am I part of?
Yeah, you know what? I think that what she realized is that we all have all 7 archetypes, and that what happens is they play out differently in different scenarios of our life. And so when you read this book, I think that you'll be like, oh my gosh, when this is going on, I do this. When that's going on, I do this. And what it does is it brings an awareness to you about when you're bringing out these different archetypes. And then you can start to be more proactive about thinking about strategies that you can use, which she talks about in the book, to bring out the best of these in the right appropriate moments.
Yeah, I've actually read something similar to that topic that was related to my personality. So I told you, like, I'm a techie, right? So I just want to get down to the details. These are the facts. Let's do it. So, you know, like one of the things that I'm struggling with is like, if I'm reaching out to you, I would be like, hey, Belinda, let's meet on Saturday at 3:00. Everything is on, bye. And then, you know, I read an email and then I'm like, oh, hey, Belinda, it's Mia. How are you? Hope you had a really nice day. And then I need to like keep editing, you know, my email to kind of like make it more human.
Exactly.
It's like just, it's a robot. Like, this is what I need. And now, like, since I read that, I actually became more aware, and I make sure that I reread all of my emails to make sure that there is that part of humanity.
That's a great example.
So
and
yeah,
that what's so great about that example is that detailed part of you is what makes you so good in certain situations where you're managing a project and every T is crossed, every I is dotted, every detail is remembered, and everybody's like, oh my God, Mia is amazing. And then they get your email and they're like, God, she's mean. Like, she doesn't know who I am. You know, and it's that exact same part of your personality that's responsible for both of those things.
Yeah, good, great example. So yeah.
All right, the third book I will mention is called Disrupt. It's by Luke Williams. And Luke was recently the executive director of the NYU Innovation Lab in their Berkeley Center. And he has a lot of experience working at Frog Design, etc. And what he does is he takes you step by step through helping you understand how to disrupt your own business, how to disrupt your own industry in a way that's going to keep you on top. And he takes you step by step through this and gives a lot of great examples on how other companies have successfully done this, such as Netflix, and how they truly disrupted their industry. And he talks about how people, you know, really, they set out and they have a mission to innovate, right? And they'll say, okay, we're going to do an innovation. And really what they do is they're like, oh, look at this new and improved version. So now instead of like Windex, we have Windex with a splash of bleach, right? So they've changed practically nothing, right? And they call it innovation. And that's a safe way to go about things because people recognize it. Maybe you're doing things, but that's not true innovation. That's not disruption in a way that's going to maybe break something and allow you to put it back together in a way that's going to work a lot better, like going from a Blockbuster store to a Netflix. So this is a book I highly, highly recommend. Then this last book that I'm going to share with you is one that I kind of started reading, you know, just because I was personally interested in it. But then I started reading and I was like, wow, this has so much information about the state of our education that it was professionally relevant for me as well. It's called Thank You for Being Late. It's by Thomas Friedman. It's called An Optimist's Guide to Thriving in the Age of Accelerations. So if anyone is familiar with Moore's Law, which is the law that talks about the doubling effect. So if you double something 64 times, the exponential size of it is hard for the human brain to even fathom how big that actually is. And he talks in here, one of the examples he gives of Moore's Law, he compares an Intel processor. If you compare the very first Intel processor that was ever made to the one today, and you apply that same level of acceleration to a Volkswagen Beetle, that Volkswagen Beetle would go like 800,000 miles an hour. And if you applied the efficiency to the gas mileage, you would only ever have to fill up your gas tank once in your lifetime, because that's how efficient the gas would be. And the whole thing would cost you about 4 cents. So it's a fascinating read to see the changes in technology in our early lives, and how that has impacted things. And then he talks a lot about education. And so I am truly fascinated by this book. I love it. It's called Thank You for Being Late by Thomas Friedman.
All right. Thank you so much, Belinda, for all of the recommendations. So before we close off, where can people get in touch with you and find out more about your services?
So my website is BelindaDiGiambattista.com, BelindaDiGiambattista.com. So definitely feel free to check it out. I have a bunch of blog posts on there. Also, I'm getting ready to launch a new free video training on how not to make a mistake when hiring a salesperson. Lots of people come to me asking me, should I hire a salesperson? I need more sales. So this video will be for you, and you can learn more about my upcoming offering that will be called Peer-to-Peer. That will be a subscription service where you can come and be in community and get new information every day with other business owners.
Great. Thank you so much, Belinda. Thank you for your time, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you so much, Mia, for having me. It's been a great pleasure to be with you.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.